Welcome to Through the Looking Glass. In today's episode, we're going to be covering Amendments 9 through 11. But before we do that, as always, I'm going to hand it on over to Russ.
Hello, welcome back to Through the Looking Glass podcast. Jesse, Adam, and myself sitting down talking about, we're running through the amendments, like he just said, 9, 10, 11. They're pretty vague, but it shouldn't take us too much time, and then we're going to talk about just some relative things going on in the country. And Adam took a little vacation, and he has some very useful insight. I'll just say that, but something about May needing medical attention. We'll get to it.
It was a life-changing experience.
It was life-changing.
Indeed it was, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I think you need to use a different descriptor because I don't.
I can't. That's the only descriptor that makes sense. You guys will understand later.
Yeah, it's the pinnacle of...
Yeah.
I will have to go there sometime, and if I feel the same thing, I'm calling the police.
It sets the standard.
How far is it away from this location?
Like 4 hours and 40 minutes.
Could just go there on
worth,
Sunday.
Worth the drive.
Worth.
Yeah?
Yeah. Spend a whole 10-hour day just traveling there and then coming back. Yeah.
Be
for
worth.
sure.
Could see it being worth. Yeah, right too. Ninth Amendment. Oh, why did it disappear on me? I'm going to assume that you have the actual document pulled up.
The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
Okay. And as I was reading, what that basically means is any rights that are not already recognized within the Constitution are still protected rights. The Ninth Amendment has been used as an argument for abortion rights, the right to certain privacies. I believe, I was just talking about this yesterday. You have the right to privacy of your own medical information. HIPAA, that's what HIPAA falls under, so certain privacies.
So where are those rights listed? It says the rights aren't
That's the
listed in the
thing.
Constitution. I don't... Where... Can you just make one up and then it falls under the Constitution?
So I think, if I understand this correctly, the Ninth Amendment is what opens the door for later amendments to recognize rights. So in the future, if we were to, on a national scale, agree that healthcare is a human right, this is what allows us to add it to the Constitution.
And like in simple terms, it means like the rights belong to the people and not the government. So like Russ was saying, like if the people all came together in a way and demanded that healthcare be a right, that could be an amendment in the future to the Constitution.
Yeah. If I'm understanding that correctly,
Yeah, so in
I
that
believe
case,
it
it's
is.
not granting us rights. It's just a way for us to get more rights if everybody agrees.
Yeah. If we as a people decide, hey, this is a right, yeah. So how has the Ninth Amendment been interpreted? Ninth Amendment has been interpreted by the Supreme Court to mean that the government cannot infringe on individual liberties that are not specifically listed in the Constitution. This has led to the protection of many rights that are not explicitly mentioned in the document. Interesting facts about the Ninth. See, it doesn't list those specifically, but examples of rights protected by the Ninth is the right to bodily autonomy and including reproductive choices, the right to privacy, the right to make decisions about one's own body. If you want to cut your arm off, you're allowed to. The right to property rights. This falls under property rights. Your rights to own and possess property. The right to freedom of speech and assembly.
At what age do you have the right to make decisions with your own body?
Interesting. Adult, when you're an adult.
Yeah, I would assume as soon as you hit 18.
Yeah, but even then, I don't know. I think either certain laws, the age requirement needs to either be reduced or we have to recognize adulthood at a later age. Because I can't remember, but I watched a video of a gentleman who served in Vietnam War, and he trained to be a Navy SEAL. He did all these things as a 19, 20-year-old. And when he came back to the States, he was still recognized as a child by the country, but he was killing people overseas. So over there in the military, he was recognized as a man, as an adult. But when he came home,
Couldn't have a glass of alcohol.
couldn't have a glass of alcohol. Yeah. So we need to start getting these lines, we need to start getting this matched up.
Yeah, instead of just having arbitrary numbers,
Yeah.
use science to deduce what age you should be able to do things based
wouldn't-
on.
The
Would
consensus
science-
right now is 25.
I was just going to say that because science right now says the brain isn't fully developed
Yeah,
until
until
you're
your mid-20s,
25.
yeah.
25, yeah. Your body is finished developing by like 21, depending. But yeah, the human brain, scientific and medical consensus right now is 25. So yeah, you do not have the authority to vote until you're 25. You should not be able to go into the military until you're 25. Just keep it even,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think we should be sending children to go die. So if you want to join the military, you wait until you're 25. You want to drink alcohol? 25. You want to drive? Maybe 25.
Would that make the laws for hooking up with a sexual partner also 25 years old instead of 17 or 18?
Consent.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, was age of consent. I don't know why it was slipping my brain.
I don't know. Because then the reproductive window is so short.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yeah, if you make everything 25, that could be a dangerous one.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Because we're already not repopulating at a sustainable rate.
Yeah, we're underneath. Ooh, that's a tough, that's something really tough we'd have to really get into.
Because if you can consent to that at the age of 18, I feel like, then you can drive, you should be able to smoke, you should be able to drink. But at the same time, I'm also the type of person that realizes, when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, even in the Marine Corps at that age, doing man things, I still look back at myself and I was like, man, I was such a child at that age.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I look back and I'm sure when I'm 45, I'm going to look back to when I was 35 and be like, I was still acting like a child in certain aspects. So, yeah, there's really no reason why we have laws set to the arbitrary age of 18. That doesn't make sense.
No.
What changes when you turn 18? Nothing.
I mean, they used to let you drink at 18. When my dad was a kid, it was 18
Yeah.
years old, he could drink.
But in a lot of states, drinking and driving wasn't even illegal up until like the 70s.
I think it was sometime in the 80s, because I actually recently watched a video about it. These people were on the news all pissed off that they couldn't drink a beer on their way home.
Yep. So I wonder why 18.
I mean, they finally moved the smoking age, at least in New York. I don't know if it was federally, but back to 21. So it's like, what really does set that age? I feel like that's a good question that should be answered. Or should there be different ages for different things? Is it kind of dependent on
that makes more
on the
sense.
thing?
So in
See,
some
like-
I don't know if marriage. So I'm kind of stuck on the marriage thing. Why shouldn't marriage be
Breathing
allowed
into the
to
mic.
why shouldn't marriage be allowed to like 15-year-olds? If they are children, yes. But if two 15-year-old children consent and want to get married,
You know what?
it should
Just
be allowed.
in that case, just date until you're 18, and then if you think you still want to get married,
Yeah,
get
'cause
married.
there's no reason to get married. There's just no reason to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not paying taxes.
Yeah.
You can't legally get a job in most cases. So
You can at 14, but
working on a farm and certain things.
no,
yeah.
you can work at 14 at McDonald's. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I'm Yeah, you can get like
Probably just working the counter. Or
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you
it's
can't
very
go
limited
near
in
any
what
of
you
the.
can do.
Yeah.
cleaning up around the store.
Interesting.
Yeah, like high school work permits you can get at like in the 9th grade or something like that.
Yeah. If I do remember correctly, one of the things that the gentleman from the Vietnam War stated is that he wasn't even allowed to vote when he went to Vietnam. So I think the voting age in the 70s was like 25. Here comes loud keyboard.
Makes you wonder why they lowered it.
Well, makes you wonder why they're trying to lower it to
To
16.
even more, yeah.
And you don't have to have an ID.
16-year-olds, I definitely don't think should be voting. That's actually
They're not worried about politics. They shouldn't be.
Isn't our next episode going to be on like voting rights and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we'll get into it. We'll get into it in the next episode then
Can't
for
wait
sure.
till we get to the to the
Lower
19th.
the lower information voter, the better.
They're
For the system, for the
yes,
system,
for
not
them,
for not for us, unfortunately.
I'm still of the mind that there should be a civil requirement to vote.
Something.
If
but-
you want to vote, then you have to
yeah, we should
probably,
save that for the next
yeah,
episode, though.
take a
We
test.
don't want to
in
blow our
civil
load on it
service.
now, you know.
All right. Do you want to move to the 10th? I'm gonna check this out.
The 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people.
Whole lot of what the what?
So it's like any powers that are not specifically given to the federal government nor withheld from the states are reserved to the respective states. Like, basically, I think simplified, this one's trying to say, like, trying to keep the federal government from getting too powerful. Like, keep the rights reserved to the states and the people. Like, let the states individually kind of decide.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find something on, like,
And this is-
interpretations of this.
This is why, in order for the
Yeah.
federal government to get bigger and for it to get more power, it has to actually, I believe, go through the Senate and Congress. That's when, we want to create a new organization. It has to be voted upon from the Senate and the Congress because they're representatives of all the states. And if all the states agree, then this 10th Amendment sounds like a check and balance.
Yeah, so like
is a
this,
check and balance.
this interpretation right here says the 10th Amendment simply makes clear that institutions of the federal government exercise only limited and enumerated powers, and that principle infused the entire idea and structure of the Constitution from 1788 onwards.
Limits the power of the federal government, ensures that it does not overstep its constitutional boundaries, gives states and local governments more autonomy and authority to make decisions about their own affairs, protects individual rights and freedoms by limiting the power of the federal government to
And that-
interfere with states and local laws.
And that right there is why, love him or hate him, you got to kind of respect what Donald Trump did during COVID. Hey, I'm going to leave it up to the states. I'm not going to overstep my boundaries as a federal government. I'll let the states make their own decisions.
yeah,
Got to kind of respect that.
People even
recognize the 10th.
found ways to hate him for that. They still
They would
when
have
he was
hated
like, hey,
him
do
either
whatever
way.
you want. Yeah.
I feel like that was his middle ground because I feel like he was in a situation of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'm damned if I shut the whole country down. I'm damned if I don't shut the whole country down. So let me leave it up to the states and let them decide.
And the numbers have proven that
Leaving the
states that
states
stayed
open,
open
yep.
was better.
Yeah.
That was Florida, right?
Florida, there was a couple.
Yeah, there was a couple.
Texas was pretty.
I think Texas actually allowed county by county. Like they said, counties make up the rules.
Oh, they took it even further. I respect that.
Yeah.
Yep. But one of the greatest examples is Florida as opposed to like Michigan. The economy was better. The death rate wasn't as high because for some reason, when you lock people together with their families in homes,
They got sick.
Yeah.
Not getting sunlight, not getting
Yep.
proper nutrition they needed.
I don't think people realize how fucking crucial sunlight is to, especially your mental health, man. If I can't,
Yeah.
like, That's why I go fucking stir crazy in the wintertime. If I can't get outside and explore and get some sunshine, I go nuts.
Or if it's cloudy for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I go fucking crazy.
Because I'm one for cloudy weather, but I need a couple rays of sunshine.
I need my sunshine.
I absolutely love a good like storm shower, but yeah, that sunshine, something about it, it just charges you up.
Especially when it's not 95 outside and it's
With
like
a 90% humidity.
87.
Hey, that 85 to 95 is my kind of weather, man. I love that.
No thanks. I'll
Ugh,
take
we'll live in the
I'll take the
Amazon,
70s, 80s.
Reminds me of North Carolina when it gets that warm. I love North Carolina.
Yeah, but there you have beaches. We have concrete and blacktop.
It depends where you're at in North Carolina. It's a pretty big state. Only the east coast of it has the beaches. There's some nice mountain ranges. I believe from the Appalachian Mountains going through the western part.
And all we have here are farms, lots of trees, and rolling hills.
Horse shit, man. We got the Finger Lakes. The Tioga State Forest is an hour away with all kinds of waterfalls
It's
and
all
places to
separated
explore.
from rolling hills and lots of trees.
Yeah,
the Finger Lakes
we're
are
lucky.
nice,
If we
for
lived
sure.
like an hour west, it would be more boring. 2 hours west.
Yeah.
Like
Like
I-
towards Ohio.
I never understood, like when I was in my young 20s, when I'd see people post on Facebook that they're bored. They have money, they have a job, they have a car, so that job's going to bring them more money if they take that money and put gas in the car and drive 30, 40 minutes up to an hour to a spot in the Finger Lakes and enjoy nature. There's so much up there, man. I'm grateful we live 30 minutes away from there.
Yeah.
I always like seeing the things on socials where it's like, oh, you're from New York. On one side, it shows the bustling city, and it's like, no, I'm from New York.
Yeah.
And it shows the rolling hills with
Yeah.
the trees. Yeah, we
In
do.
the autumn, that's why people come from 10 hours away to come up to New York and look at the leaves.
Another nice spot Erica and I go sometimes if we're able to and the weather's nice enough, we'll go weekly during October is the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. It's like maybe 45 minutes to get there, maybe an hour tops. I think it's right past Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. So beautiful there because it's just like this. You're on the top of a hill and there's just this big canyon, and watching the leaves change each week is just, it's beautiful.
We were going to go last week, but
To the PA Grand Canyon.
yeah.
If you take the Turkey Trail, good luck.
Turkey Trail. Oh, no Turkey Trail?
I was just saying good luck. Going down's easy. Getting up, you might
Is
want
there a chicken trail?
No, just the Turkey Trail. Yeah, the Turkey Trail literally just keeps like zigzagging back and forth across the hillside to get you up. So like you're just going up the hill the whole time. If you're not used to hiking, it can get a
Probably
little
not
tiring.
good to take a baby up that.
I mean,
Does the baby need to be
can do what you
carried or
want.
can it walk?
In between.
It's like in between.
Well, now it's time for a challenge to find out how good their motor skills
I
are.
remember
No,
hiking
now-
with my niece, and I had to piggyback her up a hill. Oh,
Are you guys good at like electronics or robotics or anything? I got a fucking $1 million idea going on right now.
no.
Like actually soldering circuit boards and
I
stuff.
still think it's magic.
But
All right, so what we need to do, we got to invent a drone that carries your baby. That way you don't even got to push it in a stroller anymore.
Well,
A motorized walker?
it just hover. Your baby's just hovering next to you.
buy one of Terrence Howard's and you're set.
All right, I don't
I don't trust
know
that.
if I don't know if
It
he
will just shoot off into the air.
I don't know if he sells
Maybe.
his.
He might. I mean, he's got the patents for
I don't know.
it.
My baby's not gonna ride it and start having memories of its birth, is it?
It might. I have seen the single person riding drones. I'm not sure if you could really call that drone, but it's like the quad propeller.
Yeah, I've seen it. Kind of looks like a jet ski on
Yeah.
like helicopter propeller things.
Or when you just put like 30 leaf blowers under I've seen people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be a pessimist here, but I really hope they never invent flying cars. Because I drive around delivering pizza, I see how people drive on the ground, not with them flying around in the sky, not
The
with
only
it.
people that
no,
would be
sir.
able to afford it are like the elites.
Yeah, but even way in the future, if it became affordable, not with it. I don't trust humans flying around. They can't even drive on the ground
Well,
safely.
if the cars stalled, it would crash into a house into somebody's living room.
You don't think that'd be cool to see?
I mean, to happen to another person, you'd be lucky it wasn't you.
Do you know how many views you would get on TikTok if you recorded that?
I would like to think something like that would be like the Fifth Element, where there's specific driving lanes above and below, things like that. But yeah, then the driving age would absolutely have to be raised to like 25. Oh, and the U.S. voting age was 21. I did not look up
back in the 70s
when it was.
Yeah, I don't think
changed.
it's ever been higher than 21.
Yeah, so yeah, 21.
It's 18 now.
It's 18 now. Interesting. I do wonder when that changed. So, who was it? It would have been. So the 1960s. It would have been Kennedy, Kennedy. Who was after Kennedy? Nixon.
Yeah, he was what, 68?
Nixon, Bush, Clinton.
No, it went Nixon, because Reagan was before Bush.
Yeah, there was Reagan.
Oh yeah, Reagan.
Was
it was
80s.
probably Reagan's stupid ass.
He was what, 1980?
Who?
Reagan?
I thought Reagan took over in the 70s.
Was it 70?
Because I thought there was someone between Kennedy and Reagan, too.
That was actually really hard to try to remember the order of the presidents like that.
You never have to think about it that often.
Yeah. 1971, which lowered the voting age from 21 to 18, proposed by Congress on March 23rd, 1971. Ratified by the states on July 1st, 1971. Amendment was the result a long campaign by young people and their supporters to lower the voting age. Well, that's worked out fantastic, which was sparked by the Vietnam War and the fact that young men were being drafted into the military service at 18 but could not vote on whether or not they went to go die until the age of 21. It makes sense.
Look up a list of presidents in order and terms. We gotta be missing somebody.
Richard Nixon was the one who was in charge.
When did Reagan start?
I'll look.
Sometime in the 70s, I think.
Maybe it was 76.
I thought it was sooner than that, like 74.
That's crazy that we're having a hard time remembering it.
Because we weren't alive.
That's true.
Well, we did all this in school, like when the presidents were. Or did we?
Yeah,
I know we
long
learned them in
time
order.
ago.
We might not
A
have.
long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time. We were probably in elementary.
Yeah, fourth, fifth grade.
That wasn't focused on. I don't remember anything about our U.S. government being taught in middle school. We had history classes, but I think middle school is when we started learning about the Holocaust. They focused on that so much.
Yeah. I slept almost every day, so I don't remember.
Nixon from 69 to 74. Gerald Ford, 74 to 77. And Carter, 77 to 81.
What was Reagan?
After Carter, wasn't it?
Right after Carter.
Yeah. And then
So
Bush,
would have been
then
Reagan,
Clinton.
Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump.
And then the greatest
Biden.
president in U.S. history,
He has the most
Joe
votes of
Biden.
any sitting president.
Most
Standing
votes.
president.
He was so popular that 25,000 dead people in Michigan decided to come back to life. Yeah.
He's so popular, there's a bowling team in our league in the winter. Their team name is Let's Go Brandon.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how
love him.
popular he is. I even asked them when we played them, I said, you guys are big Joe Biden fans, huh?
Oh,
And they said, absolutely. He's the absolute best.
Speaking of, so one of our coworkers, she has a "I'm still voting for the felon" shirt, and there was a customer in the lobby who saw it.
I know which one.
We started a little conversation back and forth, and I'm buying one of the shirts.
I kind of want to get one.
We went back and forth talking about it, and as this woman was leaving the store, Trump for president, blah! And then sped off. They sent in a corporate complaint and lied to corporate, saying that we were swearing and calling our loving president things that we never said and all this.
So,
It was funny.
as someone who didn't really follow the Trump trial, what felony did they convict him on?
So all 34 misdemeanors that he was originally, all 34 charges are now felonies. But the felony that was turning those into felonies has not been determined yet. That's my current understanding.
They're still trying to figure it out.
I'm not a law guy. Can any of you guys make that make sense?
That's illegal. That's illegal to do.
Someone cue the Dana White video meme. That's fucking illegal.
Yeah. So he was charged the 34 counts of what is it?
How is it
fraudulent-
even 34? How is it 34? 34 what?
34 separate payments.
So,
Yeah.
so
Or 34 times that he lied on.
all right. So here's my question. He had 34 misdemeanors.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
And they were
And then they
were past
so
their
let me ask a question here. He had 34 misdemeanors, and then they upgraded all of those to felonies by charging him with a felony, but they can't say what felony they're charging him with.
it hasn't been determined yet. So, the charges against Trump stem from a scheme to pay hush money to an adult film star, Stormy Daniels.
And what does that... Is that even illegal?
It's not. So, I think it has to do with the way he wrote it off, falsifying business records. So, the payoffs he falsified on business
Isn't
records.
that just a fine?
That's why they're misdemeanors. So, $130 in hush money.
$130?
$130,000. Sorry. Yeah.
About to say, damn,
that's
she's
very
cheap.
expensive. Very expensive. I'm
somebody-
cruising through this. It
That's
was
somebody
just
you'd
so
find around Elmira.
it was so annoying to watch this whole thing, and it's convoluted because
I watched a little bit of it. It was
nauseating.
Yeah, it was terrible.
the judge's daughter was earning money off the case because she's an activist, and then the judge told the jurors, which is very weird, and I think this is being argued about pretty intensely right now and actually might get the whole thing thrown out. The judge told the jurors, you don't have to agree on what he did wrong. If you all think he did something wrong, you can find him guilty.
That's scary.
Wow.
They don't have to they don't have to agree on what crime he committed if they believe he committed a crime.
That's okay. That's a scary precedent to set because this is a former president and somebody who is currently running to be the president
The front
again.
runner.
And our judicial system or our legal system is doing this to him. And if they're able to get away with this for him, what kind of precedent does that set for the average Joe like us?
Imagine what will happen when an authoritarian gets voted into power.
Yeah.
What's to stop them from going full Hitler?
I mean, look at
Literally.
some of the J6 people.
Yeah.
No, they weren't charged with any crime, and they were held in jail for 2 years.
Yeah, they're held on misdemeanor trespassing
Yeah.
on public property, which I understand that there was a riot going on one side of the building. Totally get it. Those who were committing violence,
Yeah, just
absolutely.
random grandmas spent a year in jail just because they were there.
But keeping a person in prison under felony charges that are a misdemeanor, keeping them in prison without a court date for like 3 years now is insane.
Yeah.
The same thing when Trump
I think they should
was,
get huge. Once Trump gets in, they should get huge settlements.
Yeah. The same thing with the guilty verdict in New York City against Trump, where he overestimated the value of one of his properties, even though the bank said, this is how this works. And then, what's his name? Kevin O'Leary? He's from
The guy that's on Shark Tank, yeah, it's Kevin O'Leary, bald guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was talking about this is absolutely you can't do this. This is how businesses work.
Yeah.
If you do this, you're going to run businesses out of New York. It sets
Yeah, because you can
crazy
value
precedents.
whatever you can value it at whatever.
Yeah, if I try to get a loan from a bank, I could tell the bank my house is worth $10 million. It's their due diligence. They send a person out, a professional.
Yeah.
They then assess the value, and then you come to an agreement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's up to them whether or not they want to just throw money at you.
It's up to them. And even the bank said we made money and we would continue doing businesses, and it's common practice. This has happened all across the country. For
That would mean that it's up to the government to have a fixed price on everything, and nobody could ever go above that.
Yeah, the government gets to
like they even
audit your property.
there are something like cigarettes. There's like a national average for you can't charge a certain amount over for cigarettes, something like that. Is it the only item they do that with?
I'm not exactly sure. I think there's certain things
maybe
on
gasoline.
Gasoline's probably a certain price. There has to be tobacco. I'm sure alcohol as well. There's probably like a certain standard or set price for that.
Speaking of gasoline, did you see the that gas station over by the old Granny's attic, the little corner store there?
On Second Walnut.
It was like the Wesson or years ago. I got bought out recently. I guess their gas is 30 cents cheaper than anywhere else right now, just to get business in.
Damn.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was told today. That's 309 right now.
Oh, you're thinking of the one on the corner of Hoffman and
Hoffman
Church.
And, Hoffman and I think Second.
Hoffman and Church.
No, it's not. It's not Church. It's on one of the side roads. It's it might be 4th Street, 4th or 3rd.
Because I know the one on Second was bought out recently.
I know what one.
West End.
Yeah, I go to the one on Second Street all the time. The one people have been sharing is the one on the corner of Hoffman and Church.
I don't
closer to the 7-Eleven over there.
Maybe it's
with the blue top on the building or the blue sign.
Oh, I don't remember.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dangerous precedent for what's being done. And there's even been people who have come forward and said these charges would not be brought forward for anybody else if their name wasn't Donald Trump. So,
yeah, there'd be no reason to.
Yeah, it's very clear that these are political attacks.
Yeah, they have an agenda.
And I'm always skeptical of anybody now that the mainstream media is trying to destroy. After COVID and seeing some of the tactics they pulled, it's like, anybody you're out there trying to destroy now and give a bad name, I'm seriously questioning why.
Look what they did to Dr. Jordan Peterson, what they tried to do to Ben Shapiro.
Jordan Peterson has a brilliant mind.
Joe Rogan. They even tried to do it to Joe Rogan. So this is what I've come to realize in the last couple of months. I absolutely, completely understand why the citizens of Germany allowed Adolf Hitler to come into power. We have these things happening in our country right now, and a majority of people do not want to be involved. Of course. Of course, tyrants will come into power and abuse it. I absolutely see why there have been revolutions around the world. Like when I was a kid, I was always thinking, how would this happen? Is this really what people wanted? No, it's a lot of people were too busy just trying to live their life while a small minority took control and threw everything into chaos. And the same thing is happening in our country. A small minority have the loudest voices, and they're throwing everything into a dumpster, and they're about to set it on fire.
Yeah.
And most people are just like,
it's not
whatever.
affecting me too much, so.
Yeah, it's not
Can't be
affecting
that
me
bad.
yet until the brown coats kick in my door and say, come with me, you're going to go kiss a
your
wall.
gas stove.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I think both sides of the aisle are both very capable of following a dictator at this point.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. One side because they want the power, the other side because they want retribution.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
There's some hardcore...
Revenge is very palpable.
There's some hardcore Trump people that are the same way, man. You can't question Trump. You can't question the great and powerful Trump.
Oh, yeah, that's just as dangerous.
The people that think he was prophesized in the Bible and sent by God to help destroy some kind of evil, I'm like, okay, I think y'all are taking it a little too far.
I mean, there's
like
going to
to
be
hear
people
their
that are
reason.
mentally unstable on both sides.
Oh,
Just
for sure.
Some of them happen to be Trump supporters.
That's the whole like Q thing. Even though there are less extremists in Q, they have some
The
some
Q thing,
wild.
the Q thing was funny to me because I know some people that were all about Q. Oh, Q said this is gonna happen, man. Q said this is gonna happen.
Until
Here I am after a dozen times of them saying Q said this is gonna happen, and I'm like,
yeah,
where?
same thing with
I think Q was a psyop or a conspiracy to just distract people and lead them down rabbit holes that just led to nowhere to see how easy it
One
was
of
to
many.
yeah.
to see how easy it was to get people to just follow a random conspiracy.
I actually believe Anonymous is the same thing. I believe Anonymous was
Possible.
a psyop because whoever it is that's running Anonymous's socials is just a straight up communist and probably a tanky because they lie about everything. It's very discouraging. I used to like the work that they did with like exposing malfeasance in governments and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like I don't see that as much from them anymore.
No, because they were all raided and mostly jailed. So I think
Then they probably had CIA agents take over and
Yeah.
act like them.
that's why they get a lot of okay fed. Lol.
I think everything's a psyop, man. Even life. Life itself is just a psyop. None of this is real.
This
we're not even,
podcast might be.
Yeah, we're not even sitting here. We're not even podcasting right now.
Are you admitting to be a Fed right now, Jesse? Is that what's happening?
You never know.
This is all just in our imagination right now.
I mean, according to Terrence Howard, if we just start hitting the right notes, we can completely alter our DNA. So
There is something very powerful about sound.
Yeah.
Cymatic frequencies are very interesting.
yeah, I believe that to be true. We use sound vibrations right now to lift things off the ground, and we're only getting better with it. Where we're able to, even with just a couple of speakers, we're now able to lift like 20, 30 pounds off the ground, and that's electricity and vibrations. That's it.
Ooh, after we're done, we should just go outside and start yelling and humming to try and fly.
I'm not trying to spontaneously combust if I hit the wrong note.
Oh, that could happen.
Or if you accidentally hit the brown note and shit your pants.
You
Don't
know,
want
there,
that to happen.
there have been countries that have tried that, and they all agree that it's not possible.
Yeah, well, the South Park guys figured it out.
Yeah. I think, if anything, it would be like
Well, I mean, if
force waves so powerful that it just squeezes your body and then kind of.
don't they have those sound guns that can render you completely useless?
LRAD, long range acoustic
Yeah.
device.
Yeah,
Where
they
it
use
just
that.
shuts your body down.
I don't know if it shuts your body.
And then you
down.
explode.
I haven't seen that, but I know that they use those in. They're on SWAT vehicles for like riot control, where it's one of those really high pitched
Yeah.
chirping machines, and it'll give you a headache because it's too much for your eardrums,
Yeah.
and it's just the natural response is to cover your ears and run away. Absolutely, sound can be a weapon for sure. All right, 11th. It's very strange. I wasn't able to find like an easy and interpreted version of the 11th. It just took me straight to the.
Well, that's because you're using DuckDuckGo. And it don't work.
Brave. I'm actually probably gonna
go back to
switch to
Google.
DuckDuckGo.
Go
But
back to Google.
Google.
DuckDuckGo, it was terrible. Everything I looked up, I couldn't find anything about anything. Try to find the definition of anything, and it's nothing.
You're just conditioned to Google's algorithm.
Maybe.
If you got to go 40 pages down to find something that's of opposing view, then it's kind of bad. But, yeah, you want to go for the 11th?
The 11th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity, commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state, or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state.
Yeah. So I have a quick meaning for it. After the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in 1793 that 2 South Carolina men could sue and collect debts from the state of Georgia, states' rights advocates in Congress and the states pushed for what to become the 11th Amendment in 1795. The amendment specifically prohibits federal courts from hearing cases in which a state is sued by an individual from another state or another country. Protecting states from certain types of legal liabilities is a concept known as sovereign immunity. The amendment did not bar all lawsuits against states in federal courts. For example, as initially interpreted, the 11th Amendment did not bar suits against states when a matter of federal law was at issue, nor did it prevent suits brought against a state by its own citizens. But more recently, a divided Supreme Court has held that states are immune from all lawsuits in federal courts unless they specifically agree to be sued.
So no.
Yeah, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
really
yeah, it makes
understand
sense. Yeah, let them decide if they want to be sued. Like if I came to you with a lawsuit and I was like, Russ, I'm gonna sue the shit out of you, man. Only if you,
have to sign
allow it.
Yeah, you have to sign a form.
Only if you allow me to sue the shit out of you.
But wouldn't this be most cases that actually help interpret major cases for like amendments? I'm trying to remember. Man, I have shit memory.
Lion's mane mushrooms.
Yeah, I do got to start getting something.
I
It would be
kinda wanna
nice to
get,
have
what is
some
it,
kind of
Rise?
supplements.
That mushroom coffee.
Mud.
Is
There's
it-
mud water and
Yeah,
things
there's
like that.
mud, and I think it was Rise.
I don't know. I just buy the capsuled
RYSE.
supplements. I use Paul Stamets' website, Host Defense.
Because regular coffee doesn't seem like to cut it anymore.
Yeah, I usually need a turbo shot in my coffee.
I really can't recall.
So it said people can't sue another state that they're not from? Is that what that was saying?
Correct.
So if you went to another state and then got hurt in a public park or something,
No.
or a state park, say something happened in a state park to where it was their fault, like something was faulty, you couldn't sue the state?
No, you
getting
you
hurt
could
on-
for that because then that's liability. Like if you are leaning up against a guardrail and the guardrail fails and it's state property, that's the state is liable for that because they're supposed to maintain that property.
Well, yeah, but
with
that
our
said you
taxes.
can't sue another state unless it was federal.
I think it would mean like bringing a suit against the state for like a certain law they have or something, or that your state doesn't have that law.
I would
You
think
can't sue them for that.
I would think it more or less falls if you're traveling through another state that you're not from and you get pulled over for doing your state's highway speed limit. You can't sue that state for them having their own laws. You know, like if you live in Texas, your highway speed limit is 80. You travel into Arizona and their speed limit is 65, but you continue to do 80. If you get pulled over for not obeying the state's speed limit, you can't say, "Well, I'm from Texas and our speed limit's 80."
Yeah, I guess.
You know?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But I do believe there had to have been cases because it's these ones where you see like Miguel versus Illinois or things like that. I'm having trouble remembering it, but that's what's been used for like the Second Amendment. This is why the Supreme Court has actually overturned Roe v. Wade because of a woman in Texas. It was her versus Texas on the ruling, and then the federal government got involved, where the Supreme Court, they're a part of the federal government, right? They're a separate branch, but they're federal. They're federal. So the Supreme Court heard the case.
Yeah, I assume
and
they're part
then-
of the judiciary.
Yeah, and then they ruled that we're pushing it back down to the states for Roe v. Wade. Yeah, this one's hard to understand, and even harder to find
Yeah,
examples.
because just reading it, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. That unless they're breaking a federal crime, you can't sue another state if you're from another state. I mean, just reading through it, that's what it seemed like to me.
I'm going to look up results of the 11th Amendment ruling.
Who's breathing in the mic?
That wasn't me that time.
Might be me. So, Grisholm versus Georgia. The Supreme Court ruled that federal courts have the authority to hear cases brought by private citizens against states, which led to the adoption of the 11th Amendment. So, 1890, Hans versus Louisiana. The court ruled that the 11th Amendment reflects a broader principle of sovereign immunity, which means that states cannot be sued by their own citizens. That states cannot be sued by their own, well, that was back in 1890. Nowadays, you absolutely can. If your rights are violated by the state, you sue the state. Ex parte Young, 1908. Court ruled that federal courts may enjoin state officials from... What's enjoin mean? May enjoin state officials from violating federal law, even if the state itself is immune from suit. May enjoin state officials from violating.
Enjoin means to instruct or urge someone to do something.
I don't think I've ever heard that word before.
So you can instruct... Enjoin state officials from violating. So the federal courts ruled that federal employees can violate federal law? What?
How do we become federal employees?
I've got to be interpreting that wrong. But, I mean, they do. CIA agents violate federal and international laws all the time, and we say, okay. I'd have to look into that one a little bit more. Fitzpatrick versus Beitzer, 1976. 70 years without another one. Court ruled that Congress can abrogate state immunity from suit under Section 5 of the 14th Amendment. Can abrogate state immunity. Alden v. Maine, 1999. Court held that states enjoy immunity in state court from suits based on federal law. So you can't sue. You have to sue the federal government. So you can't sue your state for a federal law. You have to sue the federal government. You can't sue the federal government for a state law.
Yes. You can say hi to the camera just for a minute.
And the last known one, Central Virginia Community College versus Katz in 2006.
That's gotta be 10,000 views right there.
The court ruled that Congress can abrogate state immunity from suit in bankruptcy cases, under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4 of the Constitution. These cases demonstrate the 11th Amendment impact on the relationship between individuals and states.
I can hear that.
Everybody loves a good purr, and she's... Yeah, the 11th is kind of difficult. This one's very weird. I don't know. What do you guys think it means?
I think it means what it says, that
Yeah, but I don't understand. It's difficult to
the
grasp.
U.S. courts cannot hear cases and make decisions against a state if sued by a citizen who lives in another state or a person who lives in another country. Basically can't sue your state government.
That's what it sounds like.
But you can.
Or would it go through the county, like the city, or?
I don't know. I mean, it says the federal government can't hear cases of a citizen suing the state.
So maybe only a state government can hear the case and try the case.
Yeah.
and decide if the state is guilty. Which, do you really think the state is going to find the state guilty?
I mean, sometimes it does. You know,
I feel like maybe very rarely.
I'm sure there's special courts for that. I would assume that's why each state has its own form of a Supreme Court, right? So the Supreme Court of like New York is specifically designed to hear cases against the state. I would imagine that's what it is. And they're kind of held to a higher standard, you know? Interesting. The 11th is...
Yeah, it's a tough one to decipher.
Yeah. But I think I would agree with you, Adam. It's the federal government can't hear a case that a citizen or non-citizen brings against a state, and vice versa. The state can't hear a case that the citizen brings against the federal government. So it kind of separates them from their powers. All three of these are meh. 9th is rather important because kind of gives us a way to recognize rights further on.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And then the 10th just kind of makes it so that we can stay separate entities as states instead of being every law determined by federal jurisdiction. So
Yeah, 9 and
That's
10
pretty
seem pretty relatively straightforward, kind of easy to understand once you sit down and think about it. But the 11th, we're having a tough time. That is,
have to ask somebody.
yeah.
Maybe enter a Discord channel, find out what people
Ooh, is
make
there
of
like
that.
a constitutional Discord channel that?
I'm
sure
sure
there
there's certain
probably
ones.
is.
I know Rakita probably has a Discord, and I'm assuming there's probably studied individuals in there.
Oh, is that the YouTube like Rakita Law or something like that? Yeah. Yep.
He's the one that covered several cases. His biggest two were, of course, George Floyd and
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, I think that's when I stumbled across this channel. It's really good.
All right, that's those three.
Yeehaw!
Not bad. Good news for everybody. The Supreme Courts have ruled that the bump stock and pistol brace bans by the ATF are completely unconstitutional. So for all those people out there who were created felons for the last couple of years,
You guys can start humping your stocks again.
yeah,
They just have to overturn that, like
And
take it off their record or whatever.
that'll be I don't know if anybody has been charged with those yet, but it's probably going to take a while. It's going to be one of those things where it's like, hey, I was charged with this crime. The Supreme Court has ruled that it's unconstitutional and they actually don't have the authority to do this. And then the states will probably be like, we'll get to it when we get to it. So
17 years from now.
I know we took away your rights to own firearms, but you're going to have to wait a couple more years till we decide. And it was like, how about no? It's kind of weird how that works, but hey, that was so dumb. That was very dumb. I don't understand how they even got away with being able to do that, but hey, they did because people weren't paying attention, and that's how it goes.
Did you get to your question about the amendment that you said you were going to ask before we started?
No, because after I reread the amendment, I realized my question didn't apply to the amendment.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh, still want to hear it.
yeah. No, I mean it doesn't apply. So I mean
Yeah.
the question wouldn't even make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we got any pizza lovers out there, if you guys are ever in New Haven, Connecticut, Sally's a Pete's coal-fired oven, best pizza I've ever had in my life. It blew my fucking dick off. Fucking loved it. Amazing. That now sets the standard for all pizza in my life.
Do you think it's the best pizza in the world?
I don't know. I haven't been all over the world, but it's the best pizza I've ever had in my life. That coal-fired oven hits different, man. I'll tell you what.
Does Dave go all over the world or just the U.S.?
He's just been going all over the U.S., but he did make a stop in Italy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we actually, my wife and I stopped at 2 different pizza places that are on Portnoy's top 10 from his One Bite pizza reviews. One Bite, everybody knows the rules. So the first one was Delucia's in Raritan, New Jersey. Dave scored that a 9.4. I thought it was great pizza, but I only scored it an 8.4. Didn't blow my dick off, so I couldn't put it in the 9. Still great pizza.
What body
though.
part did it blow off?
You know, it made my taste buds dance around, enjoy.
So your tongue melted a little.
Yeah,
bit.
my tongue was very satisfied, but it didn't blow any body parts off.
I would have said maybe a pinky. Maybe
Nah.
a pinky.
So I scored that at 8.4, even though Portnoy scored it a 9.4. But then we got to Sally's, and boy, my dick went flying. Boom! Blew that motherfucker right off.
What did you rate it on the?
Nah, I gave it a 9.5.
9.5.
Yeah, Portnoy scored it a 9.2. I gave it a 9.5. Best pizza I've ever had in my life.
Well, if it's the best, isn't it a 10?
No, because I can't go 10 even on the best because I got to leave some wiggle room.
Well, that's what 10 means. You can always errata it later once you find a 10.
Yeah, no, I got to
Because
leave.
if it is the absolute pinnacle of pizza that you've ever had, it has to be a 10.
Nah, even if it's the pinnacle, I got to leave that wiggle room because, you know, I still got life to live. There could always be something in the future. Always.
I don't know. I've had some pretty good pizzas down in New York City, and there's something about it. It just hits different.
One of other
The
Portnoy's
way
top
you cook it definitely matters.
One of other Portnoy's top 10s is John's of Bleecker Street in New York City, and we're actually planning to go there next year on our way down to the Stone Balancing Gathering. We're going to hit Sally's again when we leave, but we want to hit John's of Bleecker on the way down because I think Portnoy rated that a 9.3 or a 9.4, and that's also a coal-fired oven. New York City outlawed coal-fired ovens, but the places that had one for a while, they were like grandfathered in and allowed to keep it. So, yeah, if anyone's ever
banned
traveling, even if you're not in
using
New Haven,
coal?
Connecticut, if you see coal-fired pizza, stop and get it. There's that coal-fired hits different.
Yeah.
New York City is stupid. They banned coal.
Coal-fired ovens, yep.
Why specific?
Pollution.
The same reason why they outlawed like travel by horse in New York City. You know,
Yeah, but at least the coal-fired
of
ovens
the-
don't shit all over the streets.
yeah, it's just one of those things where it was probably too much pollution.
I don't believe that. I just don't believe that.
Yeah, so all the coal-fired ovens in America combined running for a whole year still probably don't put out the amount of emissions that some of these rich, powerful, or famous celebrity-type people
Yeah,
take
it's
on
probably-
one flight in their
Yeah.
private jet across the ocean. They
Taylor Swift
they fly across.
flew a plane for 13 minutes.
Yeah, or they'll fly. They'll
to a
they'll
next
literally
concert.
fly across the country just to get a meal for dinner and then fly back.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
That is the elite class. That's what they do, you know. But they have the money to do it, so
Insanity.
yeah. I think cities should switch to an all public transit system. I think that would make health in cities much better.
Oh, like big, like if you get to a certain population,
Yeah.
instead of having the roads congested at all
Yeah,
times, just
yeah.
have like trolleys.
New York City, Chicago, things like that. Yeah, it should be all public transit. Like
That
Would
would
we
why do
be
you
able to
need-
handle the capacity of that many people traveling, though? Because you got to think all the people that are driving around in cars, put them in the public transportation. Is everyone going to be able to fit? Are they going to be able to accommodate for that many people traveling on public
well,
transportation?
and how would like transporting goods work? Like if you go grocery shopping and you fill an entire SUV.
That's a good point.
Well, I was thinking more of like inner city monorails, things like that. For citizens, buses, maybe.
Yeah, but still,
trolley
how do you bring a
systems.
whole SUV full of grocery bags onto a bus with you?
If you got 10 people doing it,
Or-
And accommodations.
or carry
I
'em-
don't think there's a way.
Or carry them down
needs
into
to
the
be-
even just carrying all that to the bus stop or down into the subway station. It's
It needs
especially for an elderly woman.
some kind of innovation for it. Or
Just
all the places.
Shit, we don't even have the money to fix the roads and infrastructure
Delivery.
we currently
Right.
have. How are we going to build new infrastructure?
with the switch from private transportation to public, all the places where people park their cars, like public parking and things like that, parking structures, those would be turned into grocery stands or things like that, where groceries are closer to where you live. Our cities suffer major problems, and one of them is there aren't a lot of grocery. Well, actually, no. I'm assuming a lot of people that go grocery shopping in New York City probably don't go too far from where.
Yeah,
they
there's
live.
corner stores that are like small little grocery
Yeah,
stores all
no.
over the place. If you
I would
need just
assume
like
people
small
aren't going
things.
like a mile to go get groceries. That's probably not a thing.
There's probably a bunch of little stores that specialize in,
Mm-hmm.
like you might have a fruit stand or
Yeah, but still, even a mile for like somebody
That's tough, yeah.
that's like 70 years old, that's
Oh,
a
for
long
sure.
walk with groceries.
I guess you would have to try to figure out some way to have delivery services.
Again, my fucking drone idea that carries the baby, but it carries your groceries. Boom.
Hey,
Yeah.
Boom. It uses like laser sensors and like face detection to know that you're you, and it just follows alongside of you with your groceries. If you start running, it speeds up. If you slow down, it slows down.
but my reasoning behind it is less of like the pollution impact, but more of the public health impact. We've all heard the things about the emissions from vehicles when you burn gasoline, plus like brake dust and things like that. I think it just needs to start being cleaned up. People need to be able to breathe fresh air, and I don't think in the cities people get that. And I think it's strangling them.
Here's a good idea.
Well, that's why they're trying to go to all electric cars.
Here's a good idea.
Because that's going to work.
Don't live in big cities.
Yeah, but
Especially when shit hits the fan, that's the last place you're going to want to be.
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially if it's a zombie apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, it'll bleed over to us very quickly.
New York
afterwards.
City is like fucked in a zombie apocalypse because like they don't really allow guns down there, right?
Yeah,
I thought
they
I
don't,
thought New
but
York
I'm
City
sure,
was extremely strict.
I'm sure people.
Oh, I'm
got
sure
'em.
people still have them, but I'm
Plus,
saying that
there's a lot of police stations in New York City, and they all have guns. So,
how many ammo stores is there? If they're strict on gun laws, how many ammo stores are there in New York City?
it's probably just smuggled in.
But I'm saying for everyday citizens, this is why being in New York City in a zombie apocalypse would be
Oh, yeah,
terrible
they're
because
done
you
for.
don't have access to a lot of weaponry.
Yeah, but the tunnels would also become like the tunnels to and out of the city would all become completely congested. They'd be trapped anyways. If something were
Unless
to
you got a
happen, yeah, if something were to happen where the United States goes into complete panic mode, if you live in one of these large cities, you're probably done for. There is like a 0.001% chance of survival. So, especially New York City. Because what are you going to do? Swim? Maybe. You might be able to swim across. Probably not, because you're going to overestimate.
I mean, people get out of North Korea by doing that. Jumping over the wall into the water and swimming to an island on a log.
When you're desperate, you'll do whatever it takes.
Sure.
Adrenaline will carry you a long ways.
It will. It will.
We got everything covered today.
Think
I
so?
think we do. What are we doing next week? Which amendments?
Thought it was 12, 13.
It's a lot.
Yeah, there's a whole group.
12.
We're just going to have
13,
an amendment
14.
party next week.
How many more episodes do we have left of amendments?
Too
This will
many.
be our fourth.
Like-
so five
Like
more?
5 more.
I think so. We could probably pack some more in, but next episode is like has to do with everything with like voting rights and amendments towards more civil liberties, recognizing women's right to votes, minorities.
There's going to be a lot to talk about on that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 19.
That sounds right.
Can we call that episode the amendment party? Because there's just a bunch of them coming to have a good time with
a
us.
lot of them are like so similar. That's why we can mash them
Yeah,
together.
it's big. This is 13 and 14.
Yeah, the big one is going to be 19 for me because I'm jumping on board the not ratifying but
Abolish?
just abolishing.
Which
the
one's
19th. Women's rights to vote. either.
Now let's save that for the next episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's It's an interesting view.
Yeah, people have been discussing it a lot. I just think it needs to be rewritten, and we will definitely talk about
Yeah, we'll
that.
talk about that next week.
Hunter Biden found guilty.
Oh,
We'll
yeah, we
find
didn't
out
touch
what
on that.
happens. Donald Trump's sentencing is July 11th.
That'll be interesting.
The bump stocks.
We got a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We're getting ever closer.
Yeah,
ever
maybe
closer.
once all that happens, we take like a week to talk about all the
crazy
happenings that's going on in the courts and whatnot.
Yeah, like we said, we want to
There's-
talk about Terrence Howard. We want to dive into his mad geniusness. That'll be interesting.
I'm going to bring all the shit to the table debunking Terrence Howard.
Ooh.
Yeah. Somebody's got to play devil's advocate.
I think I brought this up to you and to you, Jesse, but I want to ask Adam as well. And it was very interesting because I found another example of it. And funnily enough, it was from Naomi Parks, one of the refugees from North Korea. She's working with, I believe, TPUSA right now. North Korea, they would teach you 1 + 1 can actually equal 1, because if you take 1 drop of water, add it to another drop of water, it just makes a larger, Do you believe 1 + 1 can equal 1?
No.
So if you take two solid objects, like an orange and an orange, you can't mash them together to make one large orange. But if you take a bucket of water and a bucket of water and put them together, you just made a larger bucket of water. So 1 + 1 can still equal 1.
Well,
That's not exactly 1 + 1.
yeah, that would
Well,
be
but-
something plus something equals bigger of something.
Yeah.
You
That's just
can't
merging.
really equate it
That's just merging two objects
because it's
together.
not one whole. It's just part of something.
I would. Maybe I'm just forgetting some lessons from math,
No.
or I'm seeing it weird.
I
could
get
see if
what
it was
you're-
like a portion. Like if you saw the larger bucket as 100%, then yeah, it would be
The
50
bucket of
plus
water
50.
analogy is more like 1 × 1 = 1. 1 bucket of water multiplied by another bucket of water is still just 1 bucket of water.
But isn't 1 × 1?
Just
the
that
way
one
it's-
thing one time, I know. Yeah.
No, but the way it's worded is, so when you say 1 × 1 = 1, when we were kids, the way I remember a teacher phrasing it is multiplying by itself. So the way that it's worded like that, you can't really multiply something by itself. It's a copy of it. It's not itself. It's not like a direct.
Why can't you multiply something by itself? You can multiply 4 by 4.
But it's not you're not multiplying like the same 4 of a thing.
Well,
So
you're
if
talking
you have-
about real world application to concept.
Yeah, if I have
Something
a specific 2 oranges in this hand, I can't then switch it to this hand and say it's this 2 times the same. It's 2. It's. I think it's
real
just the
world
way
concepts
that
are different
teachers
than
said
mathematical
it.
equations.
Yeah, I can recognize that, but I still think, I don't know. I need to discuss this with more people because I think 1 + 1 might be able to equal 1. I don't know.
I mean, when you're talking about specific concept in reality, sure, it depends on what you mean by 1.
Yeah.
But if you have 1 whole and you add another 1 whole to it, it can't equal 1. You have 2 wholes.
You're just merging 2 things to become 1 whole.
Yeah.
That's all it's doing.
So then you would break it down backwards as
2 buckets of water
What
just equals
would
1 bigger
equal
bucket of water.
0.5 of whatever your outcome is.
All right, so let's use the math this way. Let's say each bucket of water is 1 gallon. 1 gallon of water plus 1 gallon of water is going to equal 2 gallons of water, even if it's in 1 bucket.
Yeah. But there you're adding the gallon portion.
Well, you have to add something. 1 water doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, there's no
Because
measurement.
if you
There's
break
no
it down
measurement
as
in 1
small
water.
as it can, it's 1 molecule of
Yeah,
water.
because 1 drop
to
of
1
water,
molecule of
1 drop of water could be 1 water, and 1 whole ocean could be 1 water.
Yeah.
So you got to have some kind of measurement there to bring the math into it.
Is that what the only... is when we add a secondary measurement that makes it the equals 2.
Well, yeah, because numbers by themselves don't mean anything. 1 doesn't mean anything unless
So-
you apply it to something.
So mathematically, 1 plus 1 can equal 1.
No.
No.
I don't know. Because $1 plus $1 is $2.
Yeah.
But if 1 of nothing plus 1 of nothing, that's just still 1 nothing. Like
Well, if it's nothing, it's 0.
So I think the best way I could probably do this is when you have a black hole. We've seen this, not like
We're going from water to black hole.
right. It's difficult, but when two black holes meet, right, they are two separate entities, but then they can swirl around, and we've seen the shock waves of this, and we have a artist rendition kind of like a computer graphical interpretation of what it was like, and the two black holes become one black hole.
Right, but you're not adding them together, because if you're looking at them separately, it's one black hole and then one black hole. That's two black holes. When they merge, they're, yes, becoming one, but you're not
So then what
adding them together.
What is that? In mathematical terms, what would that be? If it's not 1 plus 1, what is that then?
It's 2 minus 1.
But
Two
you're
black
not, You're not
holes
getting
minus
rid of one of them. You're just...
But you're still subtracting one of them as they merge together to become one. Like,
Well, you're
There's
to
two,
subtract
now
one,
there's
it
one.
has to like be taken out of the equation completely, as to where it's still there, but it becomes one.
but you're not adding to it.
Sure, I can understand why you're saying you're not adding it, but it itself is still there.
Right, it's just one.
But is it not
They
just two
become
black
one.
holes still?
No, they merge together. They if one is a little bit larger, it swallows,
But
but
they're
they
just
still
mixed.
merge.
They're still mixed. That's like adding
No, they become one.
No, that's like adding an egg and an egg together. You still have two separate eggs just mixed together.
But on the scale, I think, of a black hole as we understand it, it's like so much pressure and mass in one single point. When those two combine,
You're
on
talking
an anatomical
now
level,
you're
they
talking
are
about things that defy our
understanding,
of the
sure.
universe.
So
But I get what Jesse's saying, though. It's like the black holes are still similar to the eggs, where
Yeah,
if you
there's
took
the-
4 eggs and cracked them all open and mixed them up in a bowl, it looks like just one thing, but that's still 4 eggs to make up that one thing. So are you saying like 4 plus 1 can also equals 1?
I guess depending on how you perceive it, right?
I mean, if 2 plus 2 can equal 1, then even 100
Yeah.
can.
So I would then have to make what I'm thinking work, right? I would then have to do 1 egg plus 1 egg equals 1 omelet. I'm adding omelet. I'm kind of changing what it is, but
You
it's
can't do
still
that.
the 2 eggs. Why not? I could easily take 2 eggs and turn it into an omelet.
No.
But 1 egg plus 1 egg equals 1 omelet.
1 omelet that was made with 2 eggs.
Yeah.
But it's 1 omelet. So those two things transformed into something else.
That's not an equation then. They don't equal.
X plus Y equals A. How not? That's math.
Wait, say that again?
Like you can have an equation where like X1 plus Y1 can equal A something. Where you don't have all three, but
Well, we're not talking
the
about
two
one- we're not
together
talking about 1
equals
plus
something
1 anymore.
completely new.
Yeah. We're not talking about 1 plus 1 equals 1 anymore.
Yeah, now you've
That's
changed.
a
Now you've changed the whole equation.
Well, that's why
That's a
I'm saying
whole
I had to
separate
do that
concept.
to make it work. Where 1 egg plus
Right,
1
but that
egg
means 1
then
plus-
transforms
but that
into
means-
1 omelet.
but that
you're
means
saying
1 plus 1
anything
still
plus
wouldn't equal
minus
2, or wouldn't
divided
equal
or
1.
multiplied
I don't know.
by anything can equal anything. So you're saying
I don't
anything
know.
in the universe is possible at any point.
I don't know. I haven't really worked this out. I'm trying to like really think of ways of 1 + 1 equaling 1.
Yeah.
Not unless you change the equation.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't get it. I'm not
Like maybe xy, maybe
I'm
xy
not-
plus,
my brain hurts.
maybe x1 plus y1 equals a whatever, but that's not 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
That's a whole different equation to get to the answer.
Oh, I guess in order for that to work, it would be like, it would be x plus x equals x, but that's not logically sound.
No.
Yeah, I get that. But
4 eggs plus 1 bowl equals 1 omelet.
But can we agree that 1 egg plus 1 egg can equal 1 omelet?
Well, you need to add other stuff. You can call it whatever you want. It's still just
But
two eggs.
you can transform 2
It's
eggs
just a cooked
as
egg.
in the state that they were into
Regardless
an
of what you
omelet.
call it, it's still 1 egg plus 1 egg equals 2 eggs.
Transformed.
You can call it whatever you want. It's
Yeah.
still whatever it is broken down.
Yeah, because there were still 2 eggs used in the omelet.
Yeah, you can name whatever you want. It's still
But I think this is where some of the new age progressive logic comes from. Is I'm like arguing in
if
their
you put
stance.
anything new age in front of it, then
This is so I'm trying to run with the progressive logic or their way of thinking.
yes,
Is
and we're breaking it down on how that's stupid.
Yeah, because 1 egg plus 1 egg cannot equal 1 egg. Because now
but
you've
if
got
I
2
argue
eggs.
hard enough, I can make it make sense.
No, you can't.
You tried.
Yeah, it didn't
one
work
egg
too well.
plus 1 egg equals 1 omelet, and that's not a
I'm
false
not.
statement.
I'm not going to disagree with the statement 1 egg plus 1 egg
okay.
equals 1 omelet. But if you're not using any other ingredients besides just eggs in your omelet, you probably suck. You need more ingredients. But yeah, but
one egg
1
plus
plus
1
1
egg plus half an onion plus a quarter of a green pepper plus some jalapenos, some ketchup and mustard equals 1 omelet.
Yeah, at that
But
point you're
back
just going,
back to the eggs though. If you're using 1 egg plus 1 egg to make that 1 omelet, that 1 plus 1 still equals 2 eggs in that omelet.
But they stopped being eggs and
no,
transformed.
they didn't.
They're still eggs.
They're still
because
eggs.
I am perceiving it as something.
Well, regardless
new.
of what you perceive,
Exactly.
there's still a universal basis for truth.
But this is But this is where that progressive logic kind of.
So
This
that
is
would-
this
that
is
would-
why they're so. I believe this is why they're so entrapped in their way of thinking.
That would coincide with people having different realities be true depending on who is viewing the universe, which just isn't the case.
And the idea that you make the reality what you want,
Yeah.
how you perceive it is what matters.
Your truth.
So yeah,
I know my
I
truth.
hate that.
I
I,
know my
see
truth.
it as 1 plus 1 can equal 1 because if I take an omelet or if I take 2 eggs, I can transform it into an omelet. And it's because I transform it into an omelet, my 1 plus 1 stands. So it's frustrating. But I would like to speak more with people maybe that can break it down further because I see where this like logic leads to, and it's maddening. It's a little maddening.
Not to me.
Sure. But do you understand where you
No.
can argue from this point of view?
No.
No?
Not unless you'd
Okay.
have to be you would have to be so disillusioned to how reality works.
Sure. I can recognize that.
I mean, you'd be a madman if you were to die on that hill.
Oh, I wouldn't die on the hill, but I can argue that position and keep coming up with things.
Well, if you're arguing for it, that
I'm
and,
not
and
really
not
arguing.
meaning like not
I'm
believing it.
playing devil's advocate with
Yes.
it. Yeah. That's what I'm really trying to do with it.
Yeah.
All right. Give us
Well,
the
yeah. If you guys made
kick
it
it.
that far, you might have tuned out the last 2 or 3 minutes because this guy's trying to rework the
a
entire
little-
mathematical system that we've had for thousands of years.
If Terrence Howard can do it, I can do it.
Nope.
Who's Terrence Howard? I've heard the name. I think I've seen
he
him
was an
before.
actor. You ever seen the movie Hustle and Flow?
No.
The first Iron Man.
Yeah, he was in the first Iron
Oh,
Man.
he was
Yeah.
the black guy.
Yeah.
He
Turns
was
out
Iron Man's
he's
like
actually a genius.
he's the one that took over he gave him the second suit or something. He played
supposed to. He never got the Iron Man suit. He was only in the first movie, and the second movie is when the Patriot comes in.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
All right, let's kick that outro right in the Adam's apple.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week for like 16 amendments we got to go over. Like, share, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends, your dog, your cat, whatever, your grandpa.
Yeah.
Make 6 accounts. Subscribe to them.
That'd be cool, but
Oh wait, don't do that. That's
don't
against
lie.
YouTube. That's against YouTube.
don't lie for us. That's dumb.
Yeah, thank you. And on that note, goodbye.
Blew my dick off.